Hi there, Frank Winston here for the Pacifica Historical Society, host of our weekly show, Footprints of Pacifica, where we explore and discover the lure and the lore of lovely Pacifica, its character and its characters. This week's show focuses on one of the oldest organizations to thrive in Pacifica. The organization is known as Mizpah. We have two guests in the studio from that organization, Linda Hughes and Caroline Cho. And Caroline, perhaps you'll give us the info on the organization itself. When was it founded here and how was it founded?
The organization was founded in 1948, so this year we celebrate our 60th anniversary here in Pacifica. We started our humble beginnings in a little brown church, and we were then called the Ladies' Aid Guild and Circle, and number two, yes, and with a membership of about 20 people. And then in 1956, we decided it was time to move away from the church and be associated with the church and become more of a non-political, social, civic group. And so we then decided with our move, we needed to come up with a name that would fit us, that would encompass what the women did. And
so it would not be the AIDS group. And what did you come up with in particular and why?
We came up with the word Mizpah because it's a Hebrew word, and it really means the Lord watched between you and I when we are absent from each other. And we felt that it was the perfect name for our group because the group always spent time together. And we met at individuals' homes, and that was just something we thought would be perfect fit for us.
When you talk about social, what other purposes did you have, or was it primarily just meeting people who shared a common ideal?
No, it's Linda. And that's Caroline. They originally were formed to raise money and funds in the area, and they started in the Pacific Manor area, and they raised money for the carpets in the church and the robes for Reverend Harker.
So it was raising funds for the church's activities
when
originally.
When they first started.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as they moved away from that, there was various other social needs, community needs that they participated in and raised funds for.
And what were the types of fundraising that you did early on?
Oh, early on they did rummage sales, they did bake sales, they did spice sales. All those things were done just to help raise money for the community. And the rummage sale back then, of course, took 3 days to complete, set up, and would last a long time, because you have to remember during that time, the women were pretty isolated because there wasn't a lot of transportation here, so it kept the women busy, and it was a chance for them to have some time away from the family and do something good for the community.
I think you brought some photos of some of the earlier rummage sales.
We did. I think they're on some of the storyboards
behind
us.
Look at one of the storyboards.
This, of course. There you go.
This one? You want to tell me what that?
This is one of our.
Actually, there's the storyboards.
Oh, it's right on the monitor. Sure.
On the storyboards, there are pictures of the Mizpah women meeting in individuals' homes. This particular picture is of a Mizpah meeting happening in Helen James' home, who is still a member today. And as you can see, the women are busy organizing and talking amongst themselves at the meeting.
And they all wore hats and nylons.
Yes, as you can see in that picture.
That was a requirement, like.
No, that's just the way they dressed back then, and it was.
So this is not a costume or uniform. It was just the style.
That's just the style in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I was
We're a lot less formal now.
Prim and proper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The organization is, how does one get into the organization then? In other words, did you solicit other people from the community? And by the way, you don't have to be from Pacifica, is that correct?
No. But at the time, all the original founding members were Pacifica residents, pillars of the community, and they would meet at each other's homes. They would have refreshments and plan their events and work together on, whatever their fundraising event was for that
Well, in
particular.
addition to fundraising event, did they also have social events where they perhaps involved others from their families and such? Or was it primarily focusing on raising funds?
I
and
know they had
doing
like
good?
box lunches. I was reading about that, where some of the bakers would make their box lunch, the ladies, and then of course all their husbands would have to bid on it. And some of the husbands were bidding on some of the better bakers or the better cooks' meals, and then they would have to share that at the end of the day. So
It reminds
that
me of
was
the motion
quite,
pictures where people would bring baskets and they'd bid on
Yeah.
the baskets. So you actually did that here?
well, Caroline and I didn't, because we've only been with the group 10 years, and but some of the older members or historical members did one of those things. They also sold vanilla.
Vanilla extract?
Yes,
Or
I
Vanilla
guess that was
extract.
something that they just
as a patent medicine or as a
No, as a
something
spice.
for cooking?
Something
It
for
was
cooking.
Yeah, and
Okay.
they made a cookbook, and they would sell
Yes.
that to different members or to the community. What else did they do?
Well,
they auctioned off green stamps.
Green stamps don't exist today, but
No,
those were
but isn't
stamps you
that-
could trade in and get some premiums and prizes
I guess
for.
they would sell them. I don't know.
Well,
So
you mentioned that was the style that they wore, but later you developed an apron that you also wore at your activities to be identified.
one of our members, Sharon Hale, created the aprons. I'm not sure if we have a picture of those. I think we do. That we would use at our. When was that? When was?
The rummage sale we used them
Yeah,
at. We
yes.
used them at our mobile blood drive.
So you could
And the
see us
Fog
in our
Fest.
events in the Fog Fest. We still wear those aprons. They're over 30 years
Does it
old.
say Mizpah on it, or
No.
it just
No.
has a
Do
certain
you have a
pattern?
picture of one of those?
Did we have a picture?
I thought they were.
If not, well,
We do.
There they are.
you have these, okay.
In the blood drive, which we had.
Is this, help me here, this is it
one
here?
Yeah.
This one here.
That's one of
Okay.
our members at the Moose Lodge with one of the breakfasts that we would serve for the blood donors. And we have our blood drive twice a year in May and November.
And
And we would cook a breakfast for the staff that does
That's
the
an
blood
event
drive.
that's not intended as a fundraiser,
It's not a
but
fundraiser, no.
but
It's
just doing something good.
Yeah.
Now,
something good for this community. And we were the first group to actually bring the mobile blood drive here because one of our members needed blood. And it was too difficult for her to continue to get blood, and there was a blood shortage, and she would have to have gone all the way to San Francisco. So we were the first to get the mobile blood drive to come to Pacifica.
and now you do that.
And we still do that to this day,
Yeah.
yes.
And what, now, as far as the organization is concerned, you have officers or your committees, or I believe you told me before the show that people, if they're going to get involved, actually have to accept some responsibility. They can't just say, well, I'll come to your meetings and socialize.
We are incorporated, and we did have we do have officers that are elected every year. We have 4 board members, and then we have many committee chairs. And so each member is required to hold a position or a committee chair or get involved in one of the activities. It's just a requirement of our membership. And it's fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting involved is fun.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot of
And
fun.
it's such a great cause, you know.
Well, one of the causes I understand you raise, some of the fundraising is done for scholarships for Pacifica students or Pacifica going on to college. What level do you do?
We give scholarships to the Terra Nova students as well as Oceana students who reside in Pacifica. And the schools choose the scholarship applicants. We just provide the money, but it's their choice to decide who gets and how much they get from the scholarships. And in the past, we've raised over $5,000 just in for scholarship
To
money.
give out and to give out in that
to the
current year.
students.
I was actually a recipient of one of those scholarships in 1971 as a high school graduate at Terra Nova.
Well, so this
And
is
so-
payback time or such?
It wasn't that large of a
No, I mean, but
donation,
that you
but
got
I do
involved.
feel that I needed to give back.
Yeah, and this is what more logical place than one
Yeah, so
help you
I
on.
remember when my neighbor approached me to join the group, and I said, "That sounds familiar," and it was because of that scholarship. And I said, "Oh yeah, you guys do good work around town. I'll join." Took her 5 years to get me involved.
Took 5 years to get you involved.
Yeah, but I've been with them 10. You've been
10.
with them
We've
10.
both been with 10.
And what brought you into the organization?
My good friend Judy, who said, I want you to come to this meeting with me. I think you like these ladies and see what they're doing. And sure enough, I came and I thought, well, one thing, it was just nice to be able to go to someone else's home and have it such an intimate meeting because it feels so comfortable. You feel you're with friends. And I felt welcome right away, and that's what kept me there. And I could see how much good they were doing, and we still continue to do so much good. For such a small group that we are presently, we are able to do a lot.
It seems different that most of the groups either meet at a hotel or a meeting room or a church, but not too many actually structured to meet at home. So that's a part of the attraction then.
I think that's why we keep our membership small, so that you can house, enough women or members. They don't have to necessarily be women, to have a meeting once a month. But what's neat about our group too is we have range ages from 30 to 75, 80, and we all work together for the same cause. The history behind this organization is unbelievable, and it's just nice to go and chat with some of the members who have been there in long standing.
Do you have a reunion from time to time of former members who chat and reminisce about what it was like that you're learning about now?
If you're not an active member, you can become an associate member. It's a very small minimum month or yearly dues that you pay, and then you are invited to all the social events, all the activities. We'd love for them to come and help us, and it's kind of fun to see them at the blood drive because some people like to jump in and help with the blood drives.
You mentioned that this either chapter or organization was number 2. Is it part of a national network, or did they stop at number 2 here in Pacifica? And who was number 1? Since you raised that.
We were never part of a national organization. The
national organization or a
national organization.
Okay. So,
but this. What was it called? The Ladies Circle.
Circle number
2. Apparently, the church had several different groups of women. This particular circle was from the Pacific Manor area. And a lot of when I go back and look at the history, I can see a lot of the members were from that area.
So that both of those chapters or associations were of Pacifica folks?
Yes.
Just met
through the church, and then number 2 separated so that they could do more community work. And our members now are from all over Pacifica.
And you have to remember that during that historical time when we were first formed, Pacific Manor was the central location. So that's why all the members were from that area. And as the Pacific,
there was no Fairmont at the time?
There was not other areas, and Manor was this place to be.
The hub of this town.
As you may say. And so that is why most of the members were from them. But as the city grew, so did the church, and then more churches came in, and so churches were not of just one, they became of one denomination instead of multi, because there were more and more people living along the coast.
Did your organization have, some organizations do a junior organization or a girls in school affiliate, or it's primarily people who can come to your meetings? And
you know what we do have, and what's kind of unique about this organization is that because we do incorporate the family in our events, we need the husbands to help with rummage sales, we need the children to help with serving or whatever they're doing. So they're all incorporated, and a lot of times the daughters and granddaughters come to the organization and keep growing. So we have had at one time 4 generations that were members.
Sort of reminds me of the rural area of Pacifica where you had farms and the kids worked on the farm and the parents worked on the farm and they all were needed. Now, you also used the word Mizpah before the show. Let's be specific. How do men fit into the organization if they're not literally members?
If they're not literally members, once their wife or significant other becomes a Mizpah member, they're usually encouraged to help.
Or dragged? Or
no, not usually.
Okay.
And that's interesting in itself because they come to help with the rummage sale, they come to help set up for the Garden of Giving, and they form relationships with the other spouses. And so that's kind of a neat dynamics to see. They're also invited to our annual Valentine's luncheon we have, so we don't exclude them, and we're encouraged and happy that their help is there, and they're always welcome.
Is the Valentine's function a fundraising or strictly a social or historical? Or what?
Actually, I think this is funny that the wives pay out of their own pocket for that meal because we don't use any funds that we've raised for any of our social events. So the wives have to pay for to feed their husbands.
But in the old days, it was an encouragement to get them to help us with the rummage sale, which was going to be the month after the Valentine's luncheon. And so
sounds almost like a trap.
Not quite.
But it was acceptable.
It was acceptable.
Okay. All right.
But let me, want to tell you a little bit, another funny story about the rummage sale is that I was reading in the history about it, is that Mizpah had a mobile rummage sale in the area when they couldn't find any place to house it. So they would put all their
Junk?
no, I didn't want to say that word. I wanted to say
treasures.
Treasures.
J-U-N-Q-U-E, would that help?
They put their treasures in the trunks of their car and then they circled the areas and sold out of their, like peddlers, I guess.
Yes, like peddlers.
And, and raised money for whatever.
As they traveled to a location, could someone come out and say, here's something I'd like to donate to sell?
Maybe they ended up with more than they sold. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
sure.
so that it's kind of the tradition that we've always maintained, and we used to have our rummage sale down at the community center every year. Of course, everyone in town is having rummage sales, and it got a little expensive to for the housing. So now we just have it. We do advertise it annually, and we have it in a neighborhood.
At someone's home?
At someone's home.
Well, that's like the organization itself. You meet at someone's home and you've gone back to your roots.
I mean, with our membership, there's a lot of treasures that come our way, so we can fill up half a block and
we can.
Open our doors and garages and.
When the men are involved, do they make decisions for the organization or with the organization, or is there really without a vote or a voice? But they can be there.
Well, I know I talk to my husband about things, but he doesn't exactly make a vote. He may give me some input, and as president, I've, of course, listened to what he has to say, because, when you're running this organization, you want to do the best you can for it.
You're the current president?
I am the current president until the end of September.
And are you an officer at this
I'm a
point?
treasurer,
and
I've been the treasurer for about 5 years. So
you don't go to a national convention because you're local here.
We're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 corporation, so all of our funds are tax deductible.
Let's speak historically of some of the people you heard of who were prominent in the founding or carrying on the activities, who are sort of known in the community as well for some other activity they may be involved in.
I think
besides Helen James.
I was going to say, she's our most prominent member.
Well, to the viewers, we can't show her on camera because she's operating one of the cameras for this show, and she has been at Footprints of Pacifica every show since we've done over 50 of them.
You can see Helen all around town at any given time. So,
and she is an inspiration to the rest of the group. The stories she gives us and
another one of our recent members who we just lost recently was Sharon Hale, and she has been just a pillar of this community, and she is a quilter and has she's made quilts for thousands of Pacificans and through the Pacifica
you mentioned the quilts. Isn't that one of your activities as well? You do a quilt show?
We do have a quilt show that we do.
And you just happened to bring a picture of it. That's fine too.
No, it goes this way.
Well, that's all right. The quilt could hang any which way.
We have the quilt show. It was inspired by Sharon Hale and one of the quilts that she had put into one of our rummage sales. And I said, "Oh, we can't sell this. It's a Sharon Hale quilt." And so we decided to have a quilt show at the Sanchez Adobe, which is another historical spot here in Pacifica. And so we have this quilt show annually where we show just exhibits.
But it's exhibits, it's not sale of
No, but
quilts.
this
But
is
we do raffle
this is
off
a
a quilt.
fundraiser because Sharon's daughter, Jeannie Matisiak, creates a quilt every year, and we raffle that off, and that's a big fundraiser for us.
Is a
for
quilt
this
a
event.
joint project or one woman
Not
makes
everyone
it?
in Mizpah is a quilter. We like to
Right.
make sure that everyone knows that, but we have a large group who are. No, usually it's an individual quilt made by one person that's used to rummage off.
But our members all have different talents,
Talents.
and
Yes, we
utilize them all.
When someone would want to join the organization after seeing it on this show, I don't know, you've got a limit of 25, you may have too many people asking now and you have to make decisions, but the first 25 who fill the slot, how would they be able to contact each of you or either of you or the organization Mizpah?
Well, they certainly could contact me. My number will be listed. It's 359-3620. You can feel free to call me and I would talk to you about Mizpah. And as far as membership, we are at a low right now. We are eager to have new members. And we would like them to come and check it out because we want to make sure that what our organization does matches with what you really want to do if you want to join our group.
Did you have something to add?
I was going to say some of our newer members have come to us with, charities that they're involved with, and they, encourage us to review that, and then sometimes if that's something that works with our fundraising events, we will raise money for their organization.
So the fact that it worked 50 years ago and may not be of a high priority today, or people raise funds in different matters. You're not limited to what you had done. How about support from the community? What either organizations or businesses have helped you during these years?
Well, certainly we can say most recently, I guess, the Resource Center. They've given us a lot of help, and we help them.
You've
Kind of been
helped
a
them
mutual
too,
kind
sure.
of thing.
We have, with our quilt show, of course, the docents at the Sanchez Adobe, and we thank them for their use. Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts have always helped when we needed them.
What do they do, since they're not in the organization, what have you partnered with on them?
They have helped us to set up events by, setting up the tables, helping with the carrying of heavy equipment that we might need for
So this is different from the Mizpah. This is an outside organization that also shares talent with you. You have another photo that you
I was just
looking
going
at,
to share this. This is one of our large fundraisers, the Garden of Giving, that we do every year. This was our first fundraiser that we did in 2004, and we raised $10,000 for that particular organization, the Pacifica Resource Center, which has got a very fond place in our hearts.
Why the name the Garden of Giving?
That was a name that we came up with when we were organizing this event.
So it's not based on some other organization historically that had used it. It's your own.
It was our own. We thought it'd be a great theme, and we thought it is. People are giving, and it's
We
like
have
a
a lot
garden
of
that grows and
flowers.
grows, and so we thought it was a perfect.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You have some other.
We have
Item?
we participate in the Fog Fest every year, so you can.
So the Fog Fest is coming up every September, the last weekend in September. So people could go by. You'll have a booth there.
We'll be
They
in
can
the
get
beverage booth.
Beverage
information.
booth every year we have.
Beverages is
Yes.
your business, okay? All right. And so if people, is there a cost, to become a member, or do they guarantee that they will contribute X amount to a particular mission, or
We
what?
have an annual due. It's very, very low, very minimal, less than a tank of gas.
Well, wait a minute, by what month are we going by?
In this particular year.
Okay,
So it's very affordable. And people bring, if they, you don't have to bring a lot of money, of course. We're there to raise money, but you can bring your talents and whatever you can contribute to the group, whether it's physical strength or, emotional
could
or
even-
ideas or,
I presume they could even contribute a home for a meeting.
Every member
Members-
has to either contribute a home, for a meeting or be a co-hostess,
And
which
cook.
means you provide dessert.
So there's
So we'd
some,
like to test out our
something to do.
cooking abilities, our dessert baking
I
abilities.
see. Well, you had a recipe book. Now, is that still ongoing? I know that
I
it
actually
might
would-
be competing. The Little Brown Church just came up
Well,
with its
actually, in the Little Brown
recipe.
Church recipe book, there is a Mizpah recipe, and they're submitted by Helen James, which is our famous Mizpah punch. And so that is in there, as I'm sure a few other recipes as well, but I did see that when I was thumbing through the historical cookbook.
I think
so.
you should make that for the next meeting.
That's-
I think I
yeah,
should.
they Is the next meeting
I haven't
your home?
tasted it.
Have you decided where the next meeting will be?
Actually, we do decide ahead of time. At the last meeting in May, we decide where the we actually have a sign up for where the next meetings are going to be held, and so people can pick a month because there are some people who like
It's
to have like
progressive.
October month because
progressive.
they have their decorations
we
up and
move
want people
around.
to come over their house at that time. So
And never out of Pacifica.
actually, we do meet out of Pacifica because we have a couple members who reside in San Bruno. And they open
If
up their
they're home,
homes,
yeah.
Yeah.
and if their home is large enough, because to accommodate 25 people in a
Yeah.
living room, you have to have a little bit of space. So
Okay, well, I'm going to have to wind down the show because we're reaching that point in time, but I do want to make sure that the
What about
audience
us?
is reminded of your phone number again.
okay, my phone
And,
number, should I say that again?
Say it again,
My phone
please.
number is 650-359-3620, and I'm Caroline Cho, and feel free to give me a call.
And is there any other items that you want to contribute at this point and wrap up? We're
Well,
happy that you would be here.
I did want to show
Sure.
this
I
because
thought
it was
so.
something
Very
we're very
nice.
proud of. In 2005, we received the Pacifica Care Award, and that was just something very special to all of our members, that we were recognized in the community for our caring attitude and what we do and bring to this community, and it means a lot to us.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you both,
Thank you.
Caroline Cho. I've got to get that
That's
right. Okay, Caroline. And Linda Hughes. And if any of you want to become involved with the Pacifica Historical Society, drop a note to P.O. Box 752 or email. Website for us is www.pacificahistory.org. And I'm Frank Winston, wrapping up the show with a reminder that lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints in the sands of time.